The topic we chose this week is rejecting inner kings. And it is, based on, followed up, continuation of the external No King's Day protests. And we took it into the inner kings and looking a little bit more about some of that language and some of those, I'd say, complex situations that we can find ourselves in. Yesterday we talked a little bit about choice and control, and today I'm going in the direction of the memory of the Buddha's life as it's handed down to us is that he walked away from a kingly path and turned towards a spiritual path. He was born into a royal family and trained as a future ruler, but he renounced that path to seek awakening. In some ways, you could say a different kind of sovereignty. In doing so, what I was taking away this morning is that he challenged the very idea that ruling others, even ourselves, was noble. And when I think about, nobility, royalty, kings, queens, I just see a fascination that the media has. The media represents us, with royal families, kings, queens, princesses, princes. And I was raised on that. I went to ballet, I wore tutus, I wanted to be a princess for Halloween. Not until I was 21. I rebelled a little bit before then. But, that desire to, be princess-like. And how many movies I've seen about monarchies. And they've been fascinating and complex. And really the challenges of staying in or extricating oneself from that special birth. We've had a fascination with that for a long time. So one of the contradictions I found within Buddhism is that the Buddha taught an eightfold noble path and talked about the Four Noble Truths and uses this word nobility, noble. And he really flipped it on its head, saying nobility is not one of special birth or special right, but one of character, developing noble character. And it's noble because, or not because, it conquers. And this was interesting way of putting it, but because it releases. It's noble because it releases. Releases greed, hatred, delusion, and. So, an example, a kind of example from my life. My computer was giving me problems last week. Every day I'd find a new fix, and then the next morning I would wake up and a new problem would be there. And not so consciously while I was going through it, but afterwards when I reflected upon this, I could see that I had really personalized my computer. She was a she. And she was old, and I wanted to be kind to her. I wasn't. I was enraged that she wasn't working. And then I was, is she really dying? Maybe there's just some glitch. If myself and the geek squad, we can just work at it. And we worked many hours, just trying to figure out how we could help this situation. And after 5 days with a variety of level of anxiety, rage, confusion, fear each day before I was teaching, because would my computer work or would it not, I decided to make the call and to put her to sleep and get a new computer. So it was a really hard decision to make. And easier once I made it. Not completely easy because now I have a new setup that I'm learning about, but I have less anxiety and fear and some hope and excitement for the future of being able to connect. And my old desktop, she's right at the foot of my bed. She's transitioning because she never really died. She's just sleeping. And you have to do a lot of things to transition a computer before you end up sending her on. So this had been going on for me. And yesterday in my meditation, um, it really came to me like she's my main communication, my main source of communication with you, with the Dharma, with the Sangha. And I had had her since we founded Sati Sangha in 1997. And she had been a reliable and trusted friend, but I had taken her for granted a lot, just, assumed she was going to work like she always did. Um, so when I was so devastated, I was really reflecting, why was I so devastated about this? Like more than normal, like really, roller coaster devastated. Um, and in these times, this is the other part that came to me, in these times when we're not sure what's happening, we're not sure what to do. Is this, is this really a slow death? Is this something that I have to learn to live with now? And I was very conflicted about making the right choice or not. That obsession flared for me. And it became all about me and the computer last week. And I was able to teach, I was able to do other things, but that was running alongside of everything I did. But the analogy helped me understand, this is, clinging, attachment, loss. This is grief. There's a lot in this. And, I really, I gave myself some room to feel that, to really use that analogy. And I felt really vulnerable while I was going through it. So I, remember, of course, many times we do a teaching that comes with some of the experiences we have. And this one, the Four Noble Truths, has been part of it. And I got a little bit clearer how come Nelly and I retranslated the Four Noble Truths as the Four Ennoblings. And I went through them again, and it was just helpful to repeat this and to remember like why we did something. There was a reason for it. And our first ennobling was we are vulnerable. And like it just went like, oh yeah, we wanted to remind ourselves that we're vulnerable living this life. We're vulnerable to strong feelings, to dukkha, to life changing, to so many things. And the second one we said is that the causes and conditions of vulnerability are dependently arisen and interwoven with our need for others. And here I'll say, like, my computer even became an other. She became a very dear other. It was not just the others of person, but other things in our life that have deep meaning to us and that we need, actually. And the third ennobling is that it's possible for us to live with vulnerability without causing harm or with less harm. And at the time I was thinking, what kind of harm am I causing? And the harm really felt was the enraging emotions that I had to sit with, that arose. It felt like if I had helped them flourish, it would go into harm. Instead, I was trying to manage them, to be with them, to not go into more harm. And the fourth ennobling that we said it like this: a tried and true path, a tried and true middle path becomes trustworthy for us. And so in reviewing that situation and seeing that, oh, I'm in a different place today, only a week later, suffering didn't completely end. But there is a sense of, I know this path. I've been on this many times, many different cloaks, many different clothes, and that it is a trustworthy path to actually go through our experiences and get some more room for the vulnerability within them, and then see how that goes into deeper understanding, less harm, and a tried and true path for ourselves. Okay. I'll end here on that very scripted ending. I always want to change my endings a little bit. It's kind of funny. So,